Foundation Course Kabbalah, Part 1, Lesson 23, Rabbi, Michael-ben-Pesach, Portnaar. Before we enter the gates of Lesson 23, we'd like to discuss drawings 22.1, 22.2, and 22.3 from Lesson 22, which will help us enter the gates of Lesson 23. Tzedakah, charity. You already learned everything has within itself the four-letter name, Havaya. In every action of to give and every fulfilling of the prescriptions and in the learning you do, always there has to be the right intention, Kavanah, to connect the first two letters with the last two letters of the Havaya. With this you bring forward the unity and the kingdom of the eternal here on earth and in heaven, meaning the spiritual worlds. By doing this you bring yourself in conformity with the laws of the universe. The divine Ari teaches us, when one gives something to another person, the one who gives is as Hey Yud, and the receiver is the Hey Vav. The subject of him who gives is in a way the letter Yud of the name Havaya. You can see this as light or pleasure, while the palm of his hand forms the first letter Hey. The receiver needs the right intention, Kavanah, meaning his upper arm is as the letter Vav, while his hand wherein he receives the gift is the second letter Hey. In this way, both parties are bringing about the unity of Havaya, and this giving will be willingly accepted from above. Drawing 22.2, and this again addresses the 5 questions that we ask below the Parsah, and the 5 answers we receive, the eternal answers, above the Parsah. And this will help us to attain the infinity, the connection with the eternal, Ein Sof. Drawing 22.3, spiritual world, the ladder. From Ein Sof comes the ray of light Kav embedded in the worlds, Partsufim, Sferot, Kelim, as the true reality, right from above to below as a plumb line. You can refer to the drawing in the written materials. Specification here is A, correction, the readjustment of the left to the right to the middle point, the true reality whereby the intellect comes in peace and harmony with the feeling. And B, correction, the readjustment of the right to the left to the middle point, the true reality whereby the intellect comes in peace and harmony with the feeling. And now we enter the gates of Lesson 23. The introduction went about what I want to give to you. At first, I thought that Tess was a good idea. After that, I gave you some chapters of the Zohar, but both are not what I looked for, what I wanted to give. Part of the text, inner purification, what it means in the spiritual work when a habit becomes the second nature. When man accustoms himself something, then that will become a habit to him. Every habit can become the second nature of man. There is nothing in which one could not perceive a core. Even if he thereby has absolutely no perception, one can achieve that by means of a habit. It is good to know that there is a difference in perception between the Creator and the creatures. The creatures have the quality of felt and feeler, reached and reachable. So there is someone who feels, and there is a certain essence. Solely the essence is the Creator. Essence is the Creator, and what we comprehend is what the creature can do. What is relevant to us? When we are learning the spiritual, and as we progress and invest in the spiritual, it becomes more relevant to us, and will form a new layer on our selfish me. The selfish me will always exist. It will always exist, but on top of that comes a spiritual layer. A part of our inner self becomes occupied through the spiritual, and that will slowly become the second nature. We always have to take care every day, be observant that learning Torah or Kabbalah will not become something that we have learned to do. Learned means that we do this on an autopilot, automatic. Every day, every moment that we learn this has to be new to us. You need to have the attitude every time when you start learning, or even when you're thinking about the spiritual, as if you are applying for an audience at the King of Kings. You search and long for and you want to accomplish audience at the King of Kings. This is very difficult, but in fact this is real. When you keep having this attitude, you will be very careful. Pay attention that you do not spoil your energy, your strengths, and that you do not sin. That you always see who is in front of you. Because in a way, we don't see him, but he sees us. He sees us, though. Everything is transparent, and the light comes through us, penetrates us fully. It is said that he sees me everywhere. The light comes through everywhere. Even when you resist, you have to know that he sees everything that you do. The higher I, which we call in the earthly terms, the light, the perfect eternal, sees you always, whatever you do. And of course, nothing is filthy. You don't have to be ashamed for certain behavior. Those are earthly things that we need. You don't have to be ashamed for that. We are made that way. We have needs. We have to go to the toilet. We are made to do that way. But you always need to be careful. Everywhere you are, you need to know that you are in front of the King, in front of the eternal life, and you have to be aware of that, time after time. Check yourself regularly, because you fall again, for instance, when you see a certain event and you get swept away by that event. Only when you see yourself in front of the King, you can truly see yourself. Then you can see your reaction. Only then you see your reaction. Only then can you see your reaction, because you are in front of the King, the one of eternal life. With those 5 questions that we had: what, when, why, where, and who. Then you can try in every situation, but you want to see the King, the eternal life, something that always lives, that you can experience the eternal answers. As we do this more and more, it becomes our second nature, and that helps us to deal with our first nature. But first, that selfish nature pulls us down and tells us, what are you doing? Look, tomorrow morning you get up, the alarm goes, and you have to go to work. This is the reality. That is sensible, and what you're doing now, what are you busy doing? That is sensible reality. You get up, wash yourself, eat, and go to work. That is hard. You can really feel that. You have to know that that is a true reality. You have to do that as well. Your work has been given to you too. That is necessary too. It's part of the reality as well. The laws of nature have been given by the King too. Absolutely. Don't think there's discrepancy, that the spiritual is something different. The laws of nature are eternal as well. We see that as long as the world exists. In that way, that the world exists in that form. These laws will be unchangeable. For example, you're sick and you go to a doctor. You have to do that as well, because thereby you also fulfill the will of your Creator. Don't say, when I work, I'm being distracted from the spiritual. Working is spiritual as well. Everything has to be spiritual with you. When you're at work, or when you get distracted through your work, or by others, or all sorts of barriers, all kinds of disturbances, they all come from above. They come from the King of life. That is the way you should see it, and don't say, when I'm alone in my room, nice and comfortable, alone, then I can study. No. At work, you carry out your attitude towards the eternal. You will progress faster than someone who hides in a monk's retreat. Precisely in the middle of life is where we have to stand. Why? Because that is how we are created, or we were created, because the laws of nature are part of the laws of the universe as well. We will come to learn that this matches with the name Elohim, and also Adni. These are 2 important names. Adni also means Malchut, and that is when we experience that we deal with heavy matter. When we experience the manifestation of this divine strength, and that is called Adni or Elohim, that is Din, severity. When we experience the severity, your task is, at everything that you do, that you take it higher to Avaya, Yud, and He, and Vav, and He. And that is the name of mercy. Then you experience the King as mercy. But at work, it might look different. In your daily stuff, then you experience him in his capacity of Elohim, severity, or Adni. Those are also the names of the Creator, and is also the reality of the Creator. That is the true reality as well, only at a lower form, and your task is, if you are at your job and you have to experience that, then you experience that. Lower worlds, when they talk about lower things, that is also reality. But in your heart, you always move upwards. Pull yourself upwards in the four-letter name, Avaya. And then you can experience. Others are, for instance, in the same situation, but they experience severity. We call that din. But at that moment, you experience the four-letter name, the unity, and then you don't feel that your earthly nature pulls you down, because you, as it were, made an effort through which you pulled yourself up. Everything is. Kabbalah is nothing more than to experience those strengths, experience and nothing else, and living in the now, living in eternity. That gives us Kabbalah, to practice and fall and practice again and to fall again. And when you fall, where do you fall to? To the first nature. The second nature you gradually have to learn. How does it feel when I'm busy with Kabbalah or with the eternal? Where is that place or those layers? Where are they in me? You will always know where they are, and then you will connect yourself with those places that the light has notched. And with that, you correct yourself in times when the first nature pulls you down to act normal. Be ordinary, that is nice, but to you normal has to be unity. To strive for unity with the king, that has to be normal to you. Part of the text for inner purification. He perceives a bitter taste in the reality. He is feeling bad or suffers a lot from it. That is his outer being. Kilim, the Kabbalah, the receiving Kilim. And he's also called sinner, but his inner being is always enjoying justification of the Creator, because he only perceives the reality and reacts thereon solely via two criteria of that reality, truth and untruth. And he is called just. And therefore the whole meaning of correction exists in letting sparks of light from his outer being ascend into his inner being. Then his outer being will not be able to sin anymore, or use holy sparks for satisfying his indecent wishes. Then the bitter taste of the reality will completely disappear from him. What he receives from the Creator he will no longer perceive as the contrary or bad. The name Avaya corresponds with the Sfirot. We can talk about the spiritual on the basis of the names of the Creator. Names mean specific strengths, a specific rendition of strengths through letters, through combinations of letters, and every letter has numerical value. Also, there are certain moments, such as, for example, a higher Sfirah towards a lower Sfirah. Then the higher Sfirah gives to the lower Sfirah through her Achoraim, back. Through her back, just like a mother gives to her child, not from herself, not from who she is, but from her attitude as a child in the way that the child is able to comprehend, digest. In the same way, the higher Sfirah behaves towards the lower Sfirah, and that is called Achoraim. Or all kinds of forms, numerical value that we call gematria, whereby the information is given of which strengths are present in that Sfirah, or which light is being transferred from one Sfirah to another Sfirah, or which prayer we call that man, or which lack lifts a lower Sfirah up to a higher, qualitative and quantitative. And that approach is from Ari. And I have seen that nowhere in the world that is being used. We learn the Kabbalah the way it is, the names of the Creator and the Sfirot, and we combine them with each other. That is the whole art. And when we learn that, we will always be able to calculate. It will already be in our head and heart that Vienna, that Bina, gives to Zayer Anpin, which is strength. We will learn how everything fits together as to strength and qualitative and which name is connected. We already have said the names are. Every Sifirah is to express in a different name of the Creator. And when light comes from, for example, the second Sfirah to the eighth Sfirah, how are you to know which light comes to the eighth Sfirah? With absolute certainty, we are able to calculate which light will come there. Therefore, it is measurable, and not only what will it give us, what gives us that number. Then we know in which quality which strength comes on that Sifra. The four-letter name, Avaya, correspond with the 10 Sifirot. We speak of 5 because of the fourth Sfira, Ze'ah, consists of 6. So sometimes we speak of 5 and sometimes of 10. I will explain. Everything that we learn consists of Keter, Chochma, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. That's all. Everything consists of those 5. And that counts for everything that is. Malchut is the creation, is what the Creator created. The creation itself, or a mature wish, where it is all about. Those 4 are everywhere, are qualities of the light which form the Malchut. Also within us, they are as well. All those 5. Ze'ah contains 6, and therefore it becomes a total of 10. So also within us, everything consists of those 5 or 10 Sfirot. That is what is the divine man in. That is what is the divine in man. What we have to do is the following. Within us are those 5. Everything that is in us are those 5. Keter, Chochma, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. Malchut is the selfish part within us. Keter, Chochma, Bina, and Ze'ah are all of our altruistic part. I would not say altruistic, but qualities of the light of the higher. And what we have to do, the Malchut must, all those 4 in herself that is light, there comes light or above. All those worlds, and that all comes through us. That comes to the Malchut, and the purpose is that we try as much as possible to bring the Malchut in accordance with those 4. Of course, a little piece of Malchut will remain. Afterwards, when we do all our corrections, a small piece will remain that we cannot correct till the coming of the Messiah. But what we are able to do, we have to do. And then we'll remain here. Malchut the Malchut. We cannot correct that. Here you also have 10 or 5. When we bring this in accordance with those 4, then we have those 4 in ourselves. So 4 we have above, and this we will, as it were, notch in ourself through those 4. And 1 remains, the Malchut of the Malchut. That what we cannot correct. What I'm trying to do is that we can explain everything in the 5 or 10 Sifirot. When we learn the strengths, work with it, then we don't need a drawing. Keter is always from which everything comes. Has everything potentially in it. And Keter gives to Chochma 100% light. Chochma receives all the light in itself, but is only a receiver. Just like a child receives without any reaction, is not yet a creature. Keter and Chochma. Now we speak of Kelim. Always we have to keep in mind about what we're speaking. Are we speaking about the light, or are we speaking about the receiver? And always we need to know, are we speaking, when we're speaking about Kelim, about the receiver, about the human, about our soul, or are we speaking about Kelim which are filled with light? It is also possible that we're speaking about Kelim without light, about Kelim from which the light has already left. What is the meaning of has left? That the Kli experiences, wants, or cannot experience the light. Then we are speaking about empty Kelim, not corrected or has no strength. Then we say, for example, the light is leaving, but never the light leaves or the light enters, is always experience of the lower, because the light is always filled. Everything is in complete perfection. Only when Malchut has no strength, then she experiences a certain part, certain strengths of the light as if they are out of her. The meaning of Kabbalah is about that we bring as many lights, strengths in the universe, that we bring them downwards, that we try to fill the Malchut as much as possible, because above is everything perfect. The whole task is to start to experience all those strengths in the universe, to experience more and more what did the great Kabbalists do. What was their merit? Later we will learn. One brought, for example, to Binah, and the other even lower. The degree of light that you bring down. What does bringing mean? Bringing light. Light does not come or go. Everything is in serenity. We speak of light is coming down, When I correct myself and I feel as if the light is coming into me, but the light is always in me. Only we say that it is just like, so when you correct yourself, you have the feeling the light is coming into you. Then you make a free space to experience the light in yourself. Everything is filled with light. The greatest villain has light. He who has done nothing good ever is full of light, only he does not experience it. Everything is filled with light, everything is perfect, only we do not experience it. So our task is to bring all those strengths, Keter, Chochma, Bina, Ze'ah, downwards into the Malchut. In a part of it, in that Malchut, to experience what is possible, and the rest, the wishes that we cannot correct, just let them sit there, let them be. That will come later. When the strength of the Messiah comes, then it will all be cleaned. Then everything will be light. We will be completely filled with light. We will not only like Keter and Chochma, but we will have all these facets in ourselves. The intention is to have all those facets in ourselves. Every wish consists of Keter, Chochma, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut, and they are all necessary. Keter is the most airy, sheer, most refined. The highest, actually, is light. Chochma is just like light. It is a little, not yet a kli, but it can already receive the light from Keter. But we don't speak of a kli yet. Kli, what is kli? Kli means something that already is able to limit the light, and Chochma is not yet able to limit. It does come inside. It is a certain coarsening of the light, but not yet. Only Malchut is the true dimension, the true wish, mature wish. So everything that takes place serves or is necessary to go through all those four, everything that exists. In Malchut are traces from Keter, traces of Keter and traces of Chochma, traces of Binah, and traces of Ze'ah. Everything is in her, because from this phase, from Keter, it comes to Chochma and then to Binah. Bina refuses to receive the light. That is the reaction of the Kli, who is saying, I don't want to receive the light. That is the strength, Bina. The beginning of all limitation is Bina, is a feminine element. Everything when the light is coming down is male, and all reaction of the creation is feminine. We all use a lot of feminine elements. It has nothing to do with woman or man. So Bina is the strength of the first limitation of light, but it is not yet limitation. She says the strength of the Bina is, I don't need the light. She is so close to Chochma. Chochma is just like light. She does not need it for herself. She does not yet have strength to receive and preserve, and has no need for the light. Bina has already experience from Chochma of receiving, and she has also everything that is coming down, has everything that comes from Chochma, has everything that will come downwards in itself potential. But below is the resultant phases, all those experiences that are from above. Bina on the one hand has experience from Chochma, the light that she received, and Bina also has the first, as it were, quality to give. She does not need the light Chochma, and that is therefore she has that giving. Through giving she receives light as well, and that light is called chesed. That is also a form of food for something. The light of mercy is also a form of food which man receives. This is a quality of Bina. There are people who are eager to receive, and there are other people whose nature or upbringing or their attitude, they are merciful. They don't have such a rough egoism. They do get food, as it were, heavenly food, through feeling mercy, the strength of Bina. But the intention is, of course, to make yourself fully done, as it were, through all those strengths, and to choose independently for afterwards to bring yourself in accordance with those strengths. They slowly go upwards to the Keter, but all these strengths are there with you. You have Malchut, who goes up again, as it were, unto the experiencing the Keter, until you completely melt and become equal to the Creator. But at the same time, all those things exist, because nothing disappears in the spiritual. So when you receive heavy in yourself light, then that is perfect. but you have to be able to make movements inside. Again, up and down, and up and down. And of course, to this side as well, not only up and down, but also to the sides, just like we have been put. Light comes from above, but also from one side to another, and as well around us. The light comes everywhere, totally, both horizontally and vertically. It fills us completely. What fills us to the middle, horizontal, is also light, light chesed. But light chokhmah is from top to bottom. Chokhmah is the light of the creation. That is the heaviest, the most essential light of existence. Male light is light, and that in the end comes there. The light chokhmah, the highest light, most high light, is essential light, is light chokhmah. It is necessary that there is an intermediary, and that is bina. Chokhmah is male and gives downwards. Bina is female, who will reflect. When it reflects, then less will come down. When a ball is thrown downwards and there is no one there to catch it, it gives a header. It comes all the way down. The more down, the stronger it is. But suppose that something falls down, and then first somewhere hangs a temporary branch, and then it goes further down, but with a lot less strength. That is also the task of the bina. Strength of the bina to offer resistance to the light, so that the light that comes down is not too intense or too high, because nobody would be able to receive it. So bina thickens it, and then it comes to the children, ze'ah. And ze'ah already has qualities both from chokhmah, the father, and from bina, the mother. Ze'ah receives from bina, and because he is so close to the bina, it has much qualities of the bina. And bina is to give, and therefore ze'ah is mainly to give as well. But still there has to be an extra element in ze'ah, a small element from chokhmah. The mother gives something to the child, and ze'ah is the strength of the bina. And still a little bit to give and a little receiving light. Also wants to receive or chokhmah. That is important. Or light that fills light chokhmah, ze'ah wants to receive. Or, but, just a little bit. Why? He is too close to the bina, and then malchut is much further from bina, and malchut gets the taste of receiving, and she wants to receive for 100%, just like chokhmah, but then fully for herself, because it is her own will, a mature wish. Chokhmah was not able to receive for itself. Why? It's very close to keter, a thin light. It has not yet strength in itself to form a real kli, to really form a limitation. It is still very close to the light, and here is a large distance. Here is distance. This is one of the elements, one of the ways to reduce the light, distance. To be able to receive the light first has to be reduced. Reducing of the light is correction. And a heavy, very strong light comes. How can we receive that light? There are two things. To reduce light, to weaken it. And secondly, this is often coupled to make the kli bigger. That is something gladly that you experience this every day and know what to do. Two things. And that is in the worlds. We will see exactly those two elements we will encounter. What does correction mean? And what means without correction? Without correction means a direct wish to receive the light. I don't have any wishes yet. You cannot receive the light directly, absolutely impossible. All sins that man commit and continues to commit from one generation to another because man receives the light directly while it was not given to us to receive the light directly. What then is necessary to receive the light? It is necessary that the Creator has built himself a system. In that manner are the worlds built as well. Instead of receiving the light directly here, and that comes to the Malchut, certain phases are necessary. Time, repeatable phase everywhere. Firstly, one of the hand to reduce the light, like a mother does with her child. She talks in a childish manner to her child, or she prepares food in a way so the child can eat it. It is the same with the light. You can never force it. Force it and you will get a hangover. With everything that you do and you force it, you have to dose. You have to try, because thus the structure of the world was built. We will see that the light from one world or sphera to another light gets weakened. Chokhmah already weakens Keter a little. It is not yet a Kli. Chokhmah is not yet a Kli. Bina already much more. Bina has also reaction, as it were. Bina, every quality of Bina, the strength, is not to receive, and Bina only starts receiving when lower strengths, Ze'ah and Malchut, they start to ask for the light. Without us asking for the light, only misery comes. Without us asking, nothing but misery comes, you see. Everything consists of those four phases. Everything in four phases: Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. This is important. Every wish is being formed out of those five. All is done in this way, and thus is achieved that the light that is coming down is being reduced, because without the reduction of the light, it cannot be received, because the only receiver is the Malchut in the end. The others are only qualities of the light, who also leave traces in us, but actually the intention is that is the Malchut. The Malchut is the kingdom. That is the real heavy feeling that we also sometimes get on Sunday or on Shabbat. Around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can experience the absolute peak time of what man can achieve here on earth, but it does not have to be on Shabbat or on Sunday. You can have it on Tuesday. A Kabbalist can evoke it in himself, make Shabbat on Tuesday or on Monday or on any other day. It is a state, condition, a situation of Shabbat. Of course, not the calendar day. Even if all the Jewish people do it on Shabbat, you can do it on Tuesday. It is your state, your inner state, how you prepare for Shabbat. And you experience that. Of course, there is something like Shabbat in the universe, but you can awaken this in yourself, and the more you're able to do so, that is not given to everybody. On Shabbat means the state of Shabbat. How we experience that in our world on Shabbat. We prepare ourselves on Friday for Shabbat, and on Shabbat you have a special inner attitude whereby, as it were, you don't see all the material world. Everything which is Malchut with us, we bring all of these strengths upwards. We experience the Malchut, as it were, and we get to experience something extra. There are 3 phases. Friday night is the first coming of the light, which we experience extra, getting the light. Every Jew, when he of course makes Shabbat, it does not matter what he is, everyone receives that. On Friday night, if he of course obeys the laws of Shabbat, what are the laws of Shabbat? Spiritual laws of Shabbat, whereat I conform myself to come to the accordance of the laws of the universe, even if it is just for Shabbat, to extract yourself from daily concerns, whereby he gets an extra dimension to bring himself in accordance with the laws of the universe. Not the religious experience, but on Shabbat, they also experience that, yet only on Shabbat. Everyone, religious Jews who live up to Shabbat, experience that. But when Shabbat is over, then they come or fall again, back to the ordinary world, and the whole week they sit in weekdays equals situation, condition, while a Kabbalist or a great Kabbalist master who knows how to work himself up to experience Shabbat on other days can experience Shabbat on other days as well. Very great Kabbalists experience Shabbat 7 days a week. Even when they have a small talk, they live in the spiritual. Of course, in earlier times, there were a lot of Kabbalists, and now not one. Not one rabbi understands it, is not a Kabbalist. They work with hand and feet and live in our world. Anteriorly, until around 1900, there were rabbis in every village who had strengths and intuitively knew about Kabbalah. Even when they had not studied it, they had it. The great Kabbalists also lived in our world and had to make an effort as well, and that is very important. Not only the spiritual, but the earthly too. But everything that we do, the Kabbalist does in the name of the Creator. He should never escape. He's always connected to the Creator. Physically, he's on earth, connected to his family, his wife, but spiritual, he's connected to the Creator. 3 phases of Shabbat. The Shabbat of which we are speaking. I only speak about the spiritual, the eternal, and not about the place where we live. Everything that I say, even when it seems ridiculous to you, you have to know that all is meant spiritual. Shabbat, Friday night, is the first phase when a person prepares himself for receiving Shabbat. This means receiving the condition of Shabbat. Shabbat is not a day, but a condition. Friday night comes the first portion of light upon you, and then a person receives a certain light of Malchut from Atzilut. Even if a person is not a scholar, but because of his preparation, in the morning an extra light is coming, and upon what we call the morning prayer comes another extra piece of light, whereby we travel in our perception even higher in Atzilut. Of course, temporarily during Shabbat. But Shabbat comes again, and color stays behind. On Shabbat you make your kli bigger, and through this you can experience the light. On Shabbat you make yourself receptive for the light, by not keeping yourself busy with earthly things. You have all your trust aimed at the light, at the king that you want to invite, and of course, then you experience that. Nothing higher exists. There has been given nothing higher to man than to fully abstract yourself once a week, as it were, for the sake of something. Not to just sit in lotus position, think of nothing and only meditate. Of course, you have to think of the purpose for creation. What do you have to think about? Your aim is for the spiritual. 6 days the universe was created in 6 days, and on the 7th day there was peace. We will learn what this means. And then comes the afternoon prayer. And on the afternoon prayer at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock, that is the highest what man can experience in our world. The time of the afternoon on Shabbat. Man has completely pulled himself away, and that is the highest one can experience. Afternoon on Shabbat. Nothing else exists. Some think they can experience anything somewhere else than on your own Shabbat. You have to make your own Shabbat. Make yourself receptive for the light. And which day is your business? It doesn't matter. Don't follow somebody else. Make your own Shabbat, and in the afternoon you will receive the highest. What do we receive? The feeling of being elevated. That is what it is about. You get the feeling that you are being elevated. You also experience Malchut, but the feeling of the snake biting you from below does not bother you. You experience all kinds of temptations on Shabbat, unity, everything that happens around you. You are not experiencing distraction. You cannot be distracted on Shabbat. You have to experience this, and you will see that you justify all that occurs on Shabbat. Why? You cannot get angry on Shabbat. You have made preparations. That is something special. And when can we experience this on earth? You can expect anything, but if you don't grant yourself this once a week, when then it will come? Try to see it like this. It will work. Those are the 3 phases. You have to eat 3 times a day, in the evening, in the morning, and in the afternoon. All has meaning. It is not Jewish culture. It is something wonderful that is programmed according to the laws of the universe. Light does not come or go. On Shabbat, you experience all that light, not because of your corrections, but you adapt yourself by not working, not doing all kinds of things. But when Shabbat is over, it is finished. You immediately go back to the ordinary life, the 6 days of the week. A Kabbalist can lengthen this. A Kabbalist can lengthen everything. All pleasures is in your hands when you learn Kabbalah. Every pleasure can be done endlessly in Kabbalah. Reducing the light. There are 2 ways upon which the universe was built. Through distances between one Sefirah and the other Sefirah, light is reduced, or the distance of the light gets bigger. When the distance of the light is bigger, the light reduces. The lower light comes, the smaller it gets. Because the further the distance of the light coming downwards from the source, the less light comes. Why? Distance of the light, and here there are all sorts of filters, Chokmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and then just little drops come down. On the other hand, the Kli gets bigger. We will learn that as we come closer down, the Kli widens. Our corrections are about enlarging our Kelim, organs which we use to perceive. What you're experiencing is a point in yourself where you are, that is me, that place we need to increase and widen through light. Because when light comes into a wider kli, then it gets smaller. And we enlarge our kilim, make it more extensive. This means that I make place inside of me for the spiritual instead of me, me, me. When I'm busy with me, there is no place for the spiritual. Then light comes and I feel nothing. But when you enlarge your kli by trying to comply with the spiritual, you give place to the higher. It does not appear, it does not disappear, but you can reduce your ego. Your me, and when necessary, you can appeal on it. You can reduce it. You are in control. You are in charge of you. You can call the spiritual and also go back to earth. That is how it must be within. We have to enlarge our kli by reducing ourselves. When we're full of our ego, our kilim are small. When you make yourself small, then the true kilim will grow. Who has control over you? The big ego, or when you make yourself small? When you make yourself small, you can grow. The Creator used those two principles when building the worlds. And exactly so we need to mimic Him by handling the same principles. The lower down, the further of the light, the smaller the light. That is the way of making tikkun, correction. Correction is that we do certain actions and adjustments within true adjustments. We want to reduce the light so that we can handle it. And on the other hand, from the side of the kli, I need to reduce myself. Thereby my kli, my receiving, grows. That is the principle that is your work. That is the only work we do. To reduce yourself regarding the higher. What does it mean to reduce yourself? Make yourself small. That I ask for the light that I can receive. When you know how to reduce yourself in the manner that you thereby receive, then you will not have fear to reduce yourself. How to reduce yourself? Make yourself small. The Malchut knows that it has shortness and starts to reduce itself. This is work you have to do within through certain efforts, trying to make yourself smaller, to see for real that you have shortness and to give this shortness to the higher. That should be experienced. How? To make yourself smaller within so you can receive. How can we receive when we are full of ourselves? You feel like King Kong when you do this, yet when the weekend is over, you go to see the psychiatrist who has to bring you down again. He has to make you human again, normal. In the weekend, you were big, experienced all sorts of things, did everything, and then you have to learn how to make yourself small again. For instance, you get depressed. This was given to you from above. A depression can be given to make you small again. Don't wait. Work on yourself. Be creative in building up how to make yourself small. Make yourself small. You make yourself small, not for somebody else. This is also necessary and difficult, but you make yourself small regarding the King of the eternal life. This is work, thus you enlarge your kli, and then the light is manageable. Look at it like this. In a small room, you need a small bulb that will give enough light to fully light the room. However, when you use the same bulb in a great room or a hall, it will not light the room. The room is dark, yet you can see the bulb. It will not blind you, but the little bulb in the small room will blind you. You can look at the same bulb in the great hall, and you can see. Not only look, but see as well. The same we do with our inner movements. You make yourself smaller. What does smaller mean? Your ego, but actually you make yourself bigger. The smaller you make yourself, building up regarding your ego, the bigger you make your kilim. The smaller you make your ego, the more life you receive in yourself. You have to be eager to make yourself small. Thereby you receive. You make yourself receptive, and you receive life. These two principles, and then later you will understand how everything was built, are the conditions for corrections to correct ourselves, called tikkun, is all we long for. In this way, everything is arranged. About the qualities of Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. Keter is always, has everything in itself, 100% light in itself. Actually, the divine in the light in itself, in the kilim. We always speak of light in the kilim or kilim without light, but not about light without kilim. We cannot talk about light. We will never talk about light in itself. When light is not within the kilim, we absolutely cannot comprehend him. That is just like Ein Sof. If I don't comprehend it within myself, then it is Ein Sof. Therefore, we learn about the worlds in the Kabbalah while we do not yet experience that. We learn about the worlds. A world is a form of coarsening of light, and then it is comprehensible. When it is the first small coarsening of light, then it can be comprehended. All this we will learn. All the lights are already in the kilim, in the higher worlds and in man. And in man it is the soul. The light in Kli is called soul. What we call soul, neshama, in man it is called soul, but we name the same words in the higher worlds. What are the higher worlds? They are higher degrees of light or less degree of coarsening, but all can be experienced within ourselves. All these worlds except the world Adam Kadmon. The first of a series of 5, the first coarsening. But how could the Kabbalist give the name to the world Adam Kadmon if man cannot experience it? Obviously, in some way, it is a small coarsening of light, but it is not allowed that we speak about that. Why? Because it is before the creation of the Adam. It is after the creation, after the beginning of the creation, but yet before the creation of man. And therefore, it is just like talking, but Kabbalists could derive this. The principle, from my flesh I shall see the divine. See the divine, that is the principle, a very important principle. But how could the Kabbalists project certain things on something that was so high? Because nothing exists in the lower that does not exist in the higher. Everything can be derived. We will speak a little bit about Adam Kadmon, but in principle, not. Maybe when we're much further in our study, not like the Kabbalists nowadays do. They start with Adam Kadmon. Absolute nonsense. It is possible, but it will not help in any way. In those 5 sfirot, we can experience everything, or we can express everything. There is the accordance with the 5 sfirot. Why can't we talk about it? Keter corresponds with Adam Kadmon, the first of a series of coarsening of the light from Ein Sof. Adam Kadmon, Keter. We cannot comprehend Keter, nowhere, not in any world, until Gmar Tikkun. Keter is too thin to comprehend. Then Chochmah, which corresponds with the world Atzilut. We will study the world Atzilut, Chochmah Atzilut, that is the world of correction, and we will experience that as well. Every man has to build up these worlds within himself. We don't count Adam Kadmon. Indirectly it has effect on us, but we cannot experience that with our earthly frequencies. But of course it has effect on us. We solely can come halfway the world Atzilut. With our strengths, we can come halfway. There's no need to come further. The world of correction is Atzilut, so every Chochmah is always Atzilut. Depending on which phase, Bina is always Bria. We don't need to make drawings. Every Bina, wherever, is Bria. There also exists Bria in the true Bria, in the general ladder of strengths. There's also exists a Bria that really is Bria in the whole creation, or in man. But there's also Bria everywhere. In Asiya also exists Bria. So every Bina has that Bria, and Ze'ah is Yetzirah. The world Yetzirah are all worlds. What does worlds mean? There are Sfirot, and there are worlds. Ze'ah is a Sfirah, and Yetzirah is the world. And there are Partzufim. These 3 things exist. Worlds are, let's say, a big size, but also in every man what corresponds with his Keter or Atzilut that corresponds with Chochmah. The same strength. Keter corresponds with the world Adam Kadmon, Chochmah with the world Atzilut, Bina with the world Bria, Ze'ah with the world Yetzirah, and Malchut with the world Asiya. Then comes an extension from Asiyah downwards, and that is our world. The experience, the strengths of our world, only a small light comes downwards to us. That small light is called Ner Dakik. It does not come, but it is given to everyone. But we have to confirm ourselves to be able to receive this. This we do by making ourselves small, and not when we feel like King Kong. Then, when we can receive, with every phase we come to the Creator. You don't need to go through everything. Even when you make a small step in Asiyah, you receive. You can see the higher, the Creator, the King, in his quality of Malchut de Asiyah. De is Aramaic and means of. You receive his radiation from the same King, only in his clothing of Malchut de Asiyah. You experience the eternal infinity, but of the strength of Malchut de Asiyah. A person does not need to be a billionaire to experience what it is like to drive a car. One drives a Rolls Royce and another a Fiat. After the drive, both had a drive. One in a Rolls Royce and the other in a Fiat. Or two people go out to eat. One goes to a cafeteria and the other goes to a fancy restaurant. Both have eaten, are filled. What is the difference? The difference is what you put in your mouth, but when it goes down your digestive tract, the difference is gone, except for the price. When it is in your digestive tract, there is absolutely no difference. Both are satisfied. The same it is with the Malchut de Asiyah. You experience full infinity. You experience the infinity, the relation with the King, but he wears, as it were, jeans instead of his royal robe. Is there a difference? As long as you see a king, you talk to the king. He dresses in jeans, so to speak, in regard to the higher worlds. Of course, here it is 1,000,000,000 times more than what we can imagine. If we only could experience the first stage of Asiyah already, so all these strengths, Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut, and in the worlds, they are. Worlds mean larger sizes, bigger kilim, larger units, but all can be experienced within ourselves. And beside that, we also have something, a certain unit called Partsufim. There are Sferot, Keter, etc. There are worlds, Adam Kadmon, etc. And there are Partsufim. Partsufim is plural for Partsuf. Partsuf means a certain consistency of 5 strengths, just like in the Sferot, whereby every strength has in itself 10 or 5. Keter we call Arichanpin, A'a, and means large face. Zeranpin, Ze'a, means small face, and is a little Chokhmah. Arichanpin, or Arich, means a lot of Chokhmah. Chokhmah is Abba, and that is father. And Bina is Ima, and that is mother. Chokhmah and Bina together are Abba ve'Ima. Ve means and. And Ze'ah is the son, and Malchut is the daughter. Ze'ah and Malchut together are called Zon. The Ze stands for Ze'ah, and the N stands for Nukwa, female partner, which will be explained later, which is Malchut. A'a is, it were, only male, from where light Chokhmah comes, and Abba ve'Ima, the higher father and mother, where we all receive our light from. Of course, it comes from A'a, from the strength Chokhmah, but the higher father and mother is where we receive everything from. We receive from Abba. Chokhmah, the father to whom we turn in our prayers. Ze'ah and Malchut are the children, and are male and female as well. Chokhmah and Bina are male and female, but are perfect with each other in infinity. Abba ve'Ima find themselves always in perfection. Ze'ah and Malchut are sometimes in perfection with each other, and sometimes they are not. Everything started with Keter. Kilim need to become bigger to receive the light, and distance is needed to reduce the light, make light smaller. To make Kilim wider is also a kind of a correction. A'a also has a female, but she's not separated from him. They are, as it were, potentially in him. This is meant when the Torah says, first man was created as male and female as one. A'a is male and has in itself his own female. His male and female are as one, in one. She is not separated from him. Abba v'Ima are already a little separated. Not really separated, but still a little bit. They stay together, but there's a little expansion of kilim. Expansion, the kilim are a little wider and larger to receive the light, and that is the correction. Larger, bigger. There exists a certain strength of Abba, and it has in itself also those five, Keter, Chochma, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. The light gets covered more and more. Then Ze'ah and Nukwa are side by side, but Ze'ah is always a little higher, and both have Keter, Chochma, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut, and then comes our world. Everywhere are exactly the same Partsufim, and the five Partsufim make a world. 5 Sfirot make a Partsuf. 5 Partsufim make a world. Everything exists of 5, only different units. We will explain later what kind of light is inside and about the relation between the letters, the numbers and the names of the Creator. So we have Keter de Keter, Chochma de Keter, Bina de Keter, Ze'ah de Keter, and Malchut de Keter. This is a Partsuf. The same with Keter de Chochma, Chochma de Chochma, Bina de Chochma, Ze'ah de Chochma, and Malchut de Chochma. That is also a Partsuf. And the same in Bina, Ze'ah, and the Malchut makes 5 Partsufim.